Hello and welcome everyone to my discussion video on why WoD has been a disappointment. WoW has lost nearly 3 million subscribers in 3 months during the first quarter of 2015. By going on the WoW forums, you can see the sheer amount of people complaining about the game, and this video aims to sum up their points. Some of the main points I found include dailies, dungeons, garrisons, PvP, and looking for a raid. First, let's talk about the hype WoD delivered and the broken promises that were made. During BlizzCon, the impression given by Blizzard is that WoD will be going back to Warcraft roots, a truly brutal Warcraft game. This resulted in a large amount of players wanting to return to the game, including me. However, Blizzard slowly started to cut out features to release the game in a reasonable amount of time. One of the biggest examples of a false promise that was made was Karabor and Bladespire. These were going to be the Alliance and Horde capital cities. When they were first announced, I was incredibly excited as an Alliance player, since Karabor was such a lore-heavy city and was so beautiful. The location of Karabor and Bladespire was perfect. It was close enough to the garrisons and wasn't in contested territory. Instead, Blizzard scrapped the ideas of Karabor and Bladespire and gave us Stormshield and Warspear. One of the main reasons people set their Hearthstone in the capital city is due to the portals they contain to other locations. However, both Stormshield and Warspear only had 3 portals each, which gave the players no real incentive to stay there. Furthermore, they have terrible design and look half assembled, at least compared to Karabor and Bladespire. Another feature that was removed was the ability to choose a location for your garrisons. Blizzard officially stated that garrisons wouldn't be a cottage in a faraway instant corner that doesn't actually exist in the world, and that is pretty much how garrisons turn out to be in the end. Next up, I was going to go into great detail on the issues surrounding looking for raid. However, this feature was introduced way before WoD. However, looking for raid does have a role to play in the recent subscription losses. Blizzard introduced looking for raid as a way for casual players to experience raid content. The basic idea of it seems fair, as all players pay the same amount of money to play the game, and so should be expected to be able to do all the content that's available to them. However, the issues start when LFR becomes a step into gearing your character instead of endgame content. For example, after you hit level cap, you're expected to do normal dungeons until you're eligible for heroic dungeons. Then, after you've geared out in heroics, the next logical step is to do LFR. This means the only incentive for players to do looking for raid is to get it over with so they could get their gear to do normal raids. This is an issue because it ruins immersion and the experience of the raid. It's less rewarding finishing a normal or heroic raid when you've literally done that raid for 2 months every week already. This, along with the fact that LFR is extremely easy, makes a lot of people slack during the raid, leading to stupid and easily avoidable wipes. Not to mention, a lot of players just /follow someone and go AFK. To summarize, LFR needs to stop being a mandatory thing, and if the goal is only to have people see the content, then let killing the bosses and experience that content be the reward. If people want gear, Blizzard should provide more than one path to getting it. Garrisons and isolation. Garrisons were promised to be the long-awaited player housing everyone wanted since the beginning of WoW. However, garrisons are probably the biggest reason to why WoD was such a disappointment. Garrisons were supposed to be a cool customizable place which you can put anywhere in the world to show off to your friends. However, garrisons became a mandatory way to gear up your character. Since garrisons provide everything a player needs to progress, there is never a reason to leave and never a reason to see another player. You can literally use your garrison as a working city with the various buildings, effectively turning the massively multiplayer online game into a single person experience. There is no incentive to interact with other players in the world, because for you to progress your character, all you need to do is open the menu and queue for a raid or dungeon without any effort. Furthermore, while in a dungeon or raid, people hardly seem to interact with each other. People just get on with the instance and leave when they've achieved what they wanted. They might as well, for all intents and purposes, be NPCs. Another thing garrisons have seemed to destroy are professions. And instead of going to the world to gather materials, everything is conveniently placed within your instance garrison. People log in a few times a day, gather up the materials and leave and wait for them to respawn and repeat. What's worse is the gear garrisons provide. You literally tell an NPC to do a mission to get gear, you then wait for a few hours, come back, and then bam, free epics. What is the point of letting the game play the game for you? Wouldn't it make more sense for you to actually play the game yourself? This is why a lot of people call garrisons a Facebook game. The game is basically telling you to stop playing to get gear. Log out, go to bed, come back 10 hours later and repeat. In conclusion, the garrisons either need to be removed or heavily changed to get more people into the world to interact and work with each other. During Vanilla and the Burning Crusades, you were forced to work with other players to do anything including leveling. This created friendships, and World of Warcraft is an MMO, which stands for Massively Multiplayer Online Game, not single player menu clicking Facebook game. PvP. I have not done much PvP during Warlords of Draenor since I haven't been playing the game as much. However, I can go on what other people are saying. From what I have heard, PvP is horrible, there is no new PvP content. ASHRAN was supposed to be the new old Alteric Valley, where you fight a progressive battle that can span for hours, days or even weeks. The idea of ASHRAN was amazing and was very promising. However, ASHRAN is terribly designed with no sense of accomplishment. Furthermore, having auction house parts only attainable in ASHRAN means that a lot of people are in the zone not to do PvP but instead are trying to farm NPCs for no reason other than to make gold. There are hardly any useful rewards for winning unless you have complete domination against the enemy faction. Furthermore, ASHRAN has a lot of non-PvP objectives. This makes a lot of players just wander around ASHRAN minding their own business. Blizzard should have at least implemented a new battleground or a new arena in case their new ASHRAN model didn't go according to plan. But other than ASHRAN, there is hardly any new PvP content, which is a shame since a lot of players only PvP in the game. I myself was the same during Cataclysm. Now on to an issue which is not directly Blizzard's fault. If you log into a battleground after midnight, you might notice that the other players are behaving strangely. These are bots and they completely ruin battlegrounds for every other player. The main bot people use is called Honor Buddy. This bot can nearly do anything in the game, from arena to raids, to grinding to questing, playing the auction house, etc. I'm sure Blizzard are working on solving these botting issues, especially in PvP. However, I seem to see the same bots online for weeks after they've been reported. Maybe Blizzard doesn't care as much anymore since these bots still do make the money at the end of the day. Now onto class balancing. Blizzard has made sure to completely balance all the classes as much as possible to make only the factor within PvP skill. This is great in theory, however classes are way too streamlined. They are essentially the same, all classes have the same principles. A few damage dealing abilities, a few CC abilities and a few survival abilities. This makes PvP the most balanced it's ever been, however it's at the cost of fun. Arena matches seem to depend much less on individual choices having a great importance, and more on how quickly you can burn their cooldowns without using your own. Classes should have unique playstyles that have weaknesses and strengths. This brings me on to the point of Warlords of Draenor being extremely streamlined. None of the classes feel different. The ability purge at the end of Mr. Pandaria going into Draenor was a terrible idea. We don't have abilities that feel any different from each other anymore. My mage doesn't feel any different to my warlock or to my priest. We haven't had class quests for numerous expansions, however I do think it will be a great idea to reintroduce them. Those of you who played a warlock during Mr. Pandaria and done the warlock class quest know how amazing that would. Only people who were able to do that quest got the green fire aesthetic and that made you feel unique. Every class gets their spammable ability at level 1, their damage over time not long after, their stun, root, fear, their CC, their interrupt, their AoE, and their speed boost pretty much at the same level. A lot of class abilities that were rarely used but gave the class its feel were taken out. These are also the same abilities that, when used in creative or unexpected ways, could seriously set the difference between someone who's good at the game and someone who is amazing at it. They weren't needed, but they could be used to great effect when the situation for them arose. The game has more and more discouraged creativity and differences in strategies, characters and gameplay. You get such a sense of uniqueness when you can go up to your friend and say, "Hey, look what I can do." Current Warlords of Draenor challenge modes are an excellent example of creativity and fun being smashed into the ground. In Mr. Pandaria, people found a ridiculous amount of extremely innovative ways to shave seconds or even minutes of their best times via treasure and items that anyone could obtain. People found wall glitches, NPC coding glitches, items that could be used in ways that weren't even thought of. These extreme and creative strategies enabled people to complete Scarlet Halls in under 3 minutes, and was the reason why Mr. Pandaria challenge modes were better than the current ones. Every time a group or a player has found something along the same lines in Warlords of Draenor challenge modes, it has nearly been instantly removed from them. This leaves you with only the way that Blizzard intended for challenge modes to be done. Crafting in Draenor and professions are garbage and absolutely useless. Removing the stats and combat bonuses of them took a lot of meaningful choice out of your profession away from you. Allowing garrisons to give you access to every profession removed the rest of the already little meaning that choice had. Giving every single crafting profession a daily cooldown material as the main way to craft something is lazy and is not fun for any player. Why do you want to have X profession over Y and Z? It doesn't matter either way what you choose since they're all exactly the same. On top of the professions all being the same, it feels like a lot of the choice and ultimately a lot of the value of the gear has been taken away from us with the removal of enchantments on most of our gear. When you got a piece of gear in previous expansions, it meant something. You worked hard to get that piece and you went and made it your own. However, reforging, gemming and enchanting were a great way to make very minor upgrades into something worthwhile. Sometimes you get bad luck on loot, it happens. But now if you happen to be unlucky with the wrong statted gear, you are simply weaker and there's no way to change that. The Warforged / tertiary model is fun, a nice little bonus from time to time, but those bonuses are simply not worth it if you don't get to choose how you want the gear to affect you. Along those same lines, the Legendary Ring, the most amazing gear that legends should be told about, crafted by sleeping through looking for a raid. In the early days of WoW, legendaries were extremely rare and anyone who had one was known throughout the server. The Legendary Ring is given to anyone who completes a set of tasks, no matter if you're a hardcore player or a casual player. To conclude, I think these are the main gameplay points that are making people leave. Obviously there are good things Blizzard have done for this expansion, however, overall by the way they approach the game has caused more people to stop playing than ever before. I'm sure Blizzard has learnt a lot over the course of Warlords of Draenor, and if they play their cards right they might even be able to recoup those losses with the next expansion, otherwise they're in for another massive drop in subscribers. Thanks for watching for my discussion video on why Warlords of Draenor wasn't as good as people expected it to be. It's a discussion video, so I urge you to post your opinions in the comments below. So I guess this is the end for this video guys. Like and favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more. I might make the opposite of this video, why people like Warlords of Draenor, or speculation videos on the next expansions or whatever. Subscribe if you want to see that stuff, and I'll see you in the next time guys. Bye!